Hi there, and welcome on the journey to transform culture. I'm Steve, and I'll be your guide. Well, folks, I hope you're having a very good day and I hope your week's equally fantastic. Today, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about possibility. I know, kind of seems pretty general, doesn't it? It's a little bit of a sneaky title because I didn't want to overload the title right out of the gate. I wanted to kind of ease you into it. Possibility, you think about possibility, in sci-fi today. If you ever watch sci-fi in the Marvel universe, all the fun things, right? That everybody watches. This whole notion that there are you know alternate timelines, and in some ways, maybe there's only one timeline, but there is alternate paths that we take as individuals, right? And I think of a billiard table, right? Pool table but imagine looking down at the pool table and the balls are scattered about the table, and each of us represent one of those balls, right? But we didn't all arrive in the same situation. Some folks arrived into, say, wealthy families, but maybe there was a lot of political, legal, business, stressors and all these things, different conditions. And then those who were born potentially into very poor families that maybe they were poor, but they had so much less externally, challenging them besides poverty, which is a big one, obviously. But, and then there's all the possibilities of where you may have landed on that billiard table in between, right? You could have landed anywhere. You could have landed 6 inches from the corner pocket and boom, short shot, and the rest of your life has been smooth sailing the whole way. That's a possibility, right? It's possible that your ball was nested in between all kinds of others. It could have been family, friends, social groups, whatever it is, school, all the things, right? You were just sandwiched within culture. And the only way for you to get anywhere was to navigate and work off of and with these others in your life to be able to get anywhere on this table. And similar to crabs in a bucket, those not all those billiard balls want to see you progress, into open country so that you have a clear shot at a particular pocket of interest, right? That thing you want to achieve in life, what your purpose is beyond protecting love, because we've already established in other videos, as I've helped you if you've watched previously, is that we're all here to protect love. It's just, what do you love in your life? What do you value? And that's basically your driver, whether you think about it or not. Your efforts are to protect love. Oftentimes we get confused along that journey and we start to put our efforts to protect our own love ahead of others. And some then will make choices that thwart others' ability to protect love in their own lives, right? Or thrive, right? Stifle them, oppress them, and all that. Some of it is directly manipulative. Some of it, maybe unknown, right? It's a third, fourth cause and effect situation where you did something or made a decision, but what you didn't know is that it affected 2 or 3 levels away from you. And there are a lot of theories about every decision that you make, may have a positive effect, but then it also has an equally negative effect, and that this becomes the dualistic nature of our existence. I don't want to get too far onto that path, onto that road, because that opens up quite a philosophical discussion, which is great, but not where we're going today. But possibility, you're looking down at your situation on that billiard table, and I think oftentimes what we forget is that all of us, irrespective of where you landed on that table, we have different challenges. We might see the one who's a few inches away from the corner pocket had a straight shot into the corner pocket. Sure, they got their education, had a great job, but then they got bored. And then what did they do? They made other mistakes that took them down all kinds of terrible roads, right? Maybe they got cycled back onto the table, right? After a scratch. After a divine scratch, they get back on the table, right? And so um, they got repositioned on the table. Now they have a whole different outlook, right? And there are those who maybe have had multiple short shots into these pockets, and you see success after success after success. Isn't because they didn't do something to get there, and we've all had somebody help us out, and it comes back to choices. Sometimes others' billiard balls hit in such a way that knocks off of us, and we think, hey, that didn't help me at all. But then we look around and go, wait a second. We don't often do this, but when we look at our situation, we go, oh, I'm in open territory. I can shoot at any one of these, side pocket, corner pocket, whatever, right? I have options now where I didn't have options, but I would have never had options if this other, terrible, billiard ball wreck hadn't occurred, right? Some say tower moments, but whatever. The billiard balls got tossed all about and everybody's in chaos going, what's going on? But then you find out that it put you in a position to, have better shots, right? And there are those who realize this and have an awareness of this, and they become, even though there's only one cue ball on the table, forget that notion for now. Imagine that there are a few cue balls on the table, but you don't know how many there are. But they've been placed there in your lives to knock you into better position, either unknown to you or known. But either way, they have been providing service. They're there to help nudge humanity and acts of kindness and possibility and do good things, right? Make good choices, and maybe their whole existence is to marshal all these balls into a better position over time. But perhaps they're only a quarter the size. They don't have near the income. They don't have the resources. But maybe the master pool table, the master, let's say that, gosh, I forgot the term for a professional pool player. But the divine pool player has positioned them in such a way so that they can do these things, right? They didn't need the resources on the table, right? So you just don't know. You never know how all of this works out. But one thing you do know from your own life, even as austere as it's been at times, when you've had difficulties, after some difficulties, boom, you met somebody who brightened up your life and became, say, your best friend. Or for those people who go through counseling services or addiction rehab things and all these sorts of things, they meet people, right? There's a certain level of, human networking that happens with people who have gone through austere situations, going through the military. You go through your basic training, you go through austere scenarios and such, and then actual scenarios later that bring a bond because you have a common experience. So now, because you have that common experience, you can identify with the struggle of others. For some folks, they didn't have to identify with the struggle of others. And it's really easy to judge those other billiard balls that are 6 or 8 inches from the cup, and they've just been knocking it in. Meanwhile, you've been going through all these foxholes of life. But what you've done is you've helped folks within those foxholes build up the courage to advance forward in their own lives, to position themselves better, right? Even if it's as emotional, mental, emotional, physical, all the things, right? You've helped marshal them. Even if in some instances those interactions or relationships weren't long lasting, they can't deny that there wasn't, kind of a help there. And for those who help, there was also a wisdom gained not to judge those who are flailing in the water. I use an example of somebody who's drowning in the ocean, and helicopter rescue folks jump in the water, right, to go save their life. And so they're swimming over to them. Hey, I need you to stop flailing about, and I need to stop, have you stop doing that, because the reason why is because if they keep doing this, they're going to knock out the person trying to save them, and then they're both going to drown, right? So what does the person do? Swims behind them, puts their arm around their neck. You would think, what? What are they doing? They're making them pass out, right? So that they can save their life. So what happens is that the rescued can look at the rescuer is I can't believe this, and that, and this, and that. And they may even say, I can't believe that they choked me out I just can't believe how, da, da, da. Well, there was a reason why they did it. And this person whose life was saved, they go on and tell everybody they know, I can't believe they did that. Yeah, I can't believe either. And then over time, people start to get clue into the fact, oh, well, they did that because if they hadn't done that, then you both would be, unalived at this point. Okay, you both would have drowned, and you prevented, or they prevented you from drowning, right? But there can still be an animos there because, oh, I can't believe it didn't. My life was saved in a manner that I just can't even imagine, right? So it's kind of like the old days when you did CPR and people had to give breaths and so forth. Can you imagine the person who has been out for 3 or 4 minutes finally comes back and all of a sudden they're appalled that somebody actually had to give them breaths, right? This is kind of what we're talking about. This happens, take it away from those emergency scenarios and get into regular life. This happens all the time. As parents, they call it tough love. Hey, tough love. You're not getting allowance for a week because you did this or you did that, and you need to think about this, right? It's a little bit of tough love, pretty mild from what we, experience in adult day-to-day life. But when you're a young person, that is kind of the world you're operating in. So it gets your attention, right? The same kind of thing happens in adult life as well. Now, we shouldn't be manipulating people's lives, right? Going around trying to play savior or life, saver and all that stuff. Just do good things for folks. Just do what's right in front of you with love in your heart, and it'll all work out for the best. It shouldn't be an ego-feeding scenario, right? At all. But you can see these scenarios where people represented by the billiard balls can then start to resent those who've got it easier or appear to have it easier than others. And those who have it easier than others can also be judgy about, well, I can't believe you put yourself in that position, not knowing that, there are many, many more circumstances that led to them being nested in between this, bunch of billiard balls. Maybe it could be family, friend groups, could be work environment, whatever, that they haven't left. They either haven't had the courage or they just don't have the wherewithal or the means or problem solving to get through that particular challenge, right? And they're trying to figure it out. But once they do, now they've become a master of how to navigate these waters, right? Or this pool table. Where those who have got the easy shot, the littlest thing will, capsize their canoe, so to speak, right? So the thing I want you to remember is that the love story is all of us. We're all those billiard balls on the pool table. We all can, either during the duration of our life or for pockets of it, or for some, a lot of it, be any one extreme, having it a little easier, having it a lot more difficult, or those of us who travel around the board, who've experienced a lot of tough scenarios, who then try to teach the other billiard balls to get, where they need to go and how to get there, right? In the way that they do. But conversely, we're learning too. So we're always teacher and student, right? You have to understand that you're always from moment to moment, you're either wearing the teacher hat or the student hat. But those moments need to flip. And I know working in organizations, helping organizations out, a lifelong learner. I'm just that way. I'm wired that way. And I'm fascinated to learn new things from people. And they're people who are brand new to an organization, been there a while, or veterans, senior folks. It doesn't matter. Always be open to learning. But conversely, understand they don't know it all either, right? And that's the exchange. This should be a fluid exchange of learning and teaching, and then everybody grows from that experience. But you have to understand at large, all of us together, all human beings, we are the love story. And so with that, I'm going to read you a little excerpt from my book. It's just a couple, 2 or 3 sentences. But got to put the glasses on because I'm not I'm not always dialed in on the eyeball department. We must stop leaving the best parts of our personality behind. Quieting the voices of our teams to avoid rocking the boat only prevents excellent ideas and innovations from coming to light. This is one reason we must see the possibility and the miracles in everyone. We must see the synergy of soul, the life force in everyone, amplified when we come together for a common purpose. Our personality has power if it has been marinated in love and supported to grow healthy connections with people in our lives and on our teams. Some work nefariously to thwart the good. Unfortunately, some do not value the human desire to thrive. We as humans are the love story about which all life and experience exists. There are no superior people on our tiny blue ball, Earth. We only have the cultures we have created. Just wanted to read you that a little bit. We are the possibility. We are the love story as human beings. And we have to see that there is an infinite possibility inside all of us, right? If we see that there is that infinite possibility, literally infinite possibilities within all of us, then we can have the hope that all change is possible, all transformation is possible, anything is possible. All right, folks, that'll do it for today. Remember, hit that good green domino 3 to 5 times a day or more to uplift, motivate, inspire, and just encourage folks. And when we do that, not only are we helping to transform culture and move those billiard balls in good, positive ways, right? But we're also improving our own lives and our own place on that billiard table as well. All right. Have a great day. Hit like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.